Mexican and a redneck father of the world. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today we'll be discussing how to give your children personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. At what age do you think you should give your children personal responsibility, Ben?
I don't know.
As soon as they're born.
You're a person, be responsible.
Now, this has been something that I've been kind of dealing with, as far as with my kids, and obviously, personal responsibility comes in different levels and different degrees as far as you develop and you grow. But I'm dealing with them like my 5-year-old, as far as like thinking like, okay, what can a 5-year-old be responsible for? What can I have her do? Obviously, she can't because she's at an age to where she's wanting to do things on her own, but she doesn't quite have the grasp of it. So I'm like, how can I give her little bits of responsibility so that she can develop into that and grow and become, more efficient in that as she develops? Because I find myself at this point, it's so much easier if I just do things for her. But then if I do everything for her, what is she actually going to be getting out of it?
Sure.
So it's, as a dad, I'm like, man, what are the things that I can let her be responsible for? And why am I letting her be responsible for? And my big thing is, I want her to grow up to be a responsible individual. Which, wherever you hear that phrase being thrown out all the time, like, oh, you got to raise responsible individuals. Well,
what does that mean?
What does that mean? Exactly. And
what do I do with that phrase?
And when does that start?
Do I tell him to go get a job at McDonald's at 5?
Well, yeah, because it's like, as a 5-year-old, what are the responsibilities for a 5-year-old? Well, she has to know how to pick up her toys. If she makes a mess, you clean up your mess.
Is potty training the beginnings of personal responsibility?
I think so. I think so.
I can't think of anything. I've been sitting here the whole time you've been talking like, what? When does it start? Because I've never been asked that question. I've never had that thought. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, go to the bathroom by yourself, I think is the first real assignment of personal responsibility. You go to the bathroom, you do your business, you wash your hands. It's responsibility for you, and then washing your hands is responsibility for society.
But, I even think, honestly, I think it starts before that. So we had this situation with my son. He's going to be 2 years old this month, and he's been going through this expressing himself, trying to enact his authority, And so whenever he wants something, we taught him, you say please, and you get it, you say thank you. Well, he's been developed this habit. Like if he wants something, he just screams and yells and does a big fit, and I find myself at times giving into it, and I call myself like, whoa, I got to stop that. Because if I give into it, then I'm teaching him, then that has power. So then he's able to get his things by doing that.
So by throwing a fit,
yeah,
you're saying that's how we get our thing we want.
Right.
Is by not being in control, but being in control by acting like a maniac.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my wife, she had the experience with him where he was just like acting like a fit. And she was just looked at him and was like, you're not going to get it. And something clicked on him to where he realized this is not working. He calmed down, got quiet, sat there in his high chair, waited for his food. And then he got it. It's like, and it clicked. I was like, oh, if I'm just calm and ask nicely, I get what I want.
Maybe that's the age. It's that behavioral.
So I think as soon as your child, there's that point where your child starts to become aware of their surroundings.
Sure.
And I think that's the point where personal responsibility comes in. And, for you guys out there listening to this, you're like, man, what is this guy ranting about? Look, y'all, we're on a journey. We don't know what we're doing. We're just here, 2 guys hanging out, just trying to figure life out. And then, you guys get what you pay for. That's all I'm saying.
I was sitting here thinking that same thing. What is he talking about? No.
But I keep on thinking about this. Is like, I think about my son. I think about my daughters. Like, as my son, what do I want to raise? Do I want to raise a king, or do I want to raise a slave? If I allow my son to give in to like teach him like, hey, if you just do a tantrum, give in, you're gonna get your way. Then I'm raising a slave. Because what do slaves do? They beg. They're always begging. We need more. We need more of this. We know, like they're always in subjugation to somebody else. A king has authority. They have possession. They give. They control. And then it goes back. Do you want to be a good noble king, or do you want to be a tyrant? And then it's like, but then there's got to be that fine balance between being a good king, but then also being a servant leader. So you have to be a slave to serving people. I don't know.
I'm lost.
I'm lost. I just lost myself. I lost myself.
It's okay. We'll get through it together. That's a good thing. But
¿Dónde estoy?
He broke y'all.
¿Qué es esto?
This is a thing y'all don't know about Juan. When he gets lost, he just starts speaking Spanish.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Yeah, so half of this is going to be bilingual, and I don't know what he's talking about. So our English-speaking listeners, stay with me. Everyone else, go with Juan. No, but I like that. Are you raising a king or a slave? Because you think about a king, man, he's the guy with the power, the money. He has control, not just tyrannical control, like you said.
Because then you're Scarface.
Yeah. First you get the money, then you get the power.
Then you get the women.
Then you get the woman. Man, Al Pacino's he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is.
Good job, Al Pacino.
I always thought he was Hispanic. I was like, no, he's just a good actor.
Is he? I thought he was Italian.
Yeah, he's Italian.
He is? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but he did. I never put that together.
He was he
playing a Cuban dude.
Cuban dude. Yeah, a Cuban dude.
I thought he was. See, he's such a good actor. I thought he was
man.
Cuban. In that movie, I was like, he's Cuban.
Yeah.
He's not Italian, but he's Italian.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the other movies, he plays these Italian
mobster dudes.
dudes. Yeah. Wow. Good job, Al Pacino. You're welcome to come to Juan's Shed and hang out with us anytime. We will be here for you.
Or if you want to invite us to your yacht.
No, come to Juan's Shed. It'll be more fun this way.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, your yacht would be cool.
We will definitely say yes if you invite us.
If anyone invites us to a yacht, we're
The answer is
always
yes.
going to say yes. We don't care who you are. We're coming on a yacht.
Yeah.
It's a yacht. Yeah. How do you say no to a yacht?
Yeah. Why not?
Right?
Yeah. Anyways.
But are you raising a king or a slave is such an amazing statement. You got this king. Everybody wants to be around the king. It's an honor to be around a king. Whereas a slave, you're just subject to this person who they can't do anything for you. They can't help you in any way. They're going to pull from you, if anything, and take from you. And in the same, kind of maybe going a little bit deeper with it is, are you a king or a slave to your emotions, wants, needs? Do you have control over who you are as a person?
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Not just a financial thing, not just, we think about money, power, cars, whatever, but looking at it as, do you have control over your emotions? Because emotions are fleeting. They are as vapid as can be, and they'll come and go just as quick, and so are you the king of your emotions? Are you the king of your thoughts?
Oh yeah.
And actions? Or are you a slave to them? I mean, have you ever been around that person who's just, they're happy one minute, they're sad the next minute, they're gossiping, but then they're someone's best friend, and it's like you can see them. Every moment of their life is driven by all their emotions, and that person's toxic. Like, they are not a king. They're a true slave versus the king, where you get around someone and they'll say one little phrase. They don't say it loud. They just say something to sum up a circumstance you're both in, and you think about it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're like, what did that person have that I don't? Why am I so drawn to them?
Yeah.
That's the king right there.
And even as kids, man, I can remember that being influenced by other friends, and they had that persona of like, oh man, they know what they're doing, and there was that confidence that that oh man, like they're capable of doing this thing, versus that kid who's just a slave to his habits, to his feelings, to his emotions. And it really, I'm like, and it really comes down, oh man, it comes back down to personal responsibility. It comes back down to me as far as like, what am I showing my kids? Am I being a king in my household, or am I being a slave?
Because
Am I
oh, go ahead.
am I their slave, or am I their king? I'm not saying, hey, when they say do something, am I quick to do it? I'm like, am I going to do it based on like, no, this is when we're going to do it, because I'm the one giving the authority. I'm the one providing the protection as a good king, not as a good slave. You're there and you're doing everything for them.
That's yeah. That's I mean, because that's a good thought. Is how do you raise a king or a slave? Well, are you a king or a slave? Like, because kids are a mirror.
Yeah.
They are a mirror of who you are. If you disagree with me, please tell me why. Because everything I've seen, which I've only been a parent for almost 9 years now, but every parent I see, when their life is out of control, their kids are out of control. Their kids are a tyrant. When someone's life is in control, their kids are in control. I mean, I know kids can get wild every once in a while, and they need correction, but man, when you can tell the difference between parents who have dealt with their emotions, they have stuff under control, they have their lives in order, versus ones who don't.
Yeah.
Just by being around their kids.
Oh yeah.
And my kids will get out of line and run around or say something inappropriate, but that's a kid. But I mean, you can really tell when a kid's just, when you're at that birthday party and their kid. Yeah, we had a birthday party, no joke, for my daughter, and we invited a bunch of her friends, and one of the people we invited, the relationship between us and them was starting to kind of fizzle out the way they do,
Yeah.
and the child and my daughter weren't getting along as well, but they were having fun, and we were trying to honor their friendship that was there, that was slowly going away. And they said, well, it's time to leave. And this kid screamed and cried and freaked out. I don't know if you remember this or not.
Yeah.
But it was, you were there. It was so intense that one of the guys that was also at the party leaned over to me. He's like, what just happened? Like, he couldn't figure out, he said, is that a normal thing? Or is that, because he was concerned. Like, he was thinking maybe there's like a serious issue in the family where someone had died or something. No, I was like, oh, that's just the way they leave places. When the kid doesn't want to leave, she freaks out. It was like that person was clearly a slave to their emotions. The parent was, the kid was. It was bad. You were there.
Yeah. No, man, and now having kids, man, I'm just like, I never want to be that parent who, when you go somewhere, they're like, oh my gosh, they're coming. It's like, they're going to be there. They're going to be there. Their kids are going to be there. Okay. Can my kids stay over here? It's just, but it's like, but at the same time, I struggle with this because, you don't want to overprotect your kids, but then you don't want to underprotect your kids. There's that fine balance where you want to allow them to be exposed and make their own decisions to where they're able to, operate in their authority that they have. Because every child, regardless of what age they have some kind of authority. And if you're raising them to become healthy, productive citizens or, members of society, they have to know how to practice, how to use their authority. And, and the simple thing like believing, like, the child could have been like, oh, can we stay for 5 more minutes?
Sure.
That would have been a healthy, expression of his authority, of asking, can we stay for about 5 more minutes? Like, oh no, we got to go. We got to, and then, man, communication is so key. And sometimes we treat our kids like, oh, well, they're too young. They're not going to understand. There's no point in me trying to communicate with that. And, I find myself, if I don't take the time to learn how to communicate with them when they're 2, 3, and 5, then how am I going to communicate with them? They're 20, 30, and 40.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I didn't, it's like I didn't take the time to listen to them when they were little. When they're big, why are they going to want to listen to me? So it's like, man,
comes back to that mirror.
No, man, when you're talking about that mirror, I see my little girl doing things that I'm like, I can't get mad at her because I'm doing the exact same thing.
Oh yeah.
It's like we had an incident as far as like she's doing things in secret because she's like, oh, I know I'm not able to do that. But then I'm like, am I doing things in secret that I know I shouldn't be doing? Man, and it's exposure of like, where is she learning that? Is she learning that from me, or is she learning that from somebody else? Because if she's learning that from me, then I have the responsibility of cutting that out, so that I'm not that example to her, so that I can show her, hey, like, hey, that's bad, and Daddy realizes it's bad. That's why Daddy's cutting it out of his life. You need to do the same.
Yeah.
It goes back to like that image we talked about in the previous episode of previous podcast of your dad telling you don't smoke as he's smoking a cigarette. You know?
True story. Actually happened. He didn't realize he was smoking the cigarette till about halfway through the conversation. That was the funniest.
That's hilarious.
He was like, oh, and looks down at his fingers. And it's like,
I still the one for me, man. I still remember my dad getting mad because the cuss words slip out of my mouth, and he was like, "Who the bleepity bleep 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 taught you those bleepity warps?" And I really want to say, "Well, you," but I couldn't say that because he was very angry.
What's the movie? A Christmas Story. He said, "I said the Queen Mother of all words, the F dash dash word," and it's this big deal. His dad's like, "What did you say?"
Yeah,
it's like, "That's what I thought." Get back in the car, and he tells his mom, and she's like, "What?" He's like, she's freaking out, and he's like, she calls. He tells his mom where he heard it, and he blames his friend, knowing good and well it was. He describes his dad as like a Matisse or a Picasso,
yes,
of language.
Yeah,
and he says, "Oh, I learned it from my friend Schwartz." So she gets on the phone. And he's like, "Do you know what Ralphie just said?" She said, "No," and she's like, "He said this," blah, blah, blah. And she said, "What?" And he's like, "Do you know where he heard it?" And the woman on the other end of the phone, you hear her very faintly say, "Probably from his father."
Yeah, I remember that.
And she's like, "No!" Like, knowing good and well. It's like, "No, we're going to put all the blame on the
wife
kids."
in complete denial. You know, now, like, doing this podcast and, like, looking back at some of this Christmas movie and realize, like, wow, that is a completely dysfunctional family.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Totally.
I love Christmas, which we can obviously go into another 5-minute rant about how much we love Christmas.
We could.
But then that movie is just like, I don't want that. I want the happy movie. You know? Well, anyways, guys, before we start going into a rant of Christmas, we just want to say thank you for listening to Mexican and Redneck Follow the World. We are your hosts, and we love you for being here with us and listening to us. And also, by the way, we do have a YouTube channel coming up. A Mexican and Redneck Follow the World. So go check us out on YouTube, and we have an email too if you guys want to reach out to us. info@mexicanandredneck.com.
Christmas!
Mexican